Alright guys, and welcome to another episode. Thank you so much Liam McGovern for asking a question in my video introducing the Katana Bass. You asked the brilliant question of what setting would you recommend classic blues with a P bass? So I've spent an hour or so now trying to come up with the best blues sound for you on the P bass from the Katana Bass here. Obviously, what I'm using is not a P bass, it's a Mustang bass, but luckily it's got the PJ pickup system, so the pickup switch is completely over to the P pickup, so it sounds as much as a P bass as possible. It's a short scale bass, this one here, so it will probably have a little bit more sub bass in the pickup rather than a full length normal P bass would probably have a little bit less bass in it. And at the same time, as you're going to see, I got the pad switch on, which is because it's got a relative high output on these pickups. So it's the DiMarzio pickups. So I just make sure that if you don't have high output on your pickups, then you should switch off that pad sequence, because you can download this patch from the description below if you like the sound of it. But I'm also going to explain what I think is the best pointers when you're going to make a good P bass sound for blues. All right, so stay tuned. Now, when it comes to a P bass sound, I think it's important to this is all my opinions, all right? So you gotta make up your own opinion, but this is my takes on it. And that is that a P bass sound by itself is a relatively dead kind of thumpy ish mid-ranged bass sound. But it has a brilliant way to cut through the mix because it has this kind of grit to the sound with the P pickups. So it's a really well-known sound, and it sounds way better in the mix, like with the band and in records, rather than how it sounds when you're playing solo. So you're gonna hear the bass through the microphone there and through the DI on the back of the Katana. I'm gonna switch between them, but I'm also gonna just play solo, just the bass by itself. And I assure you that as soon as you put it in a mix with the band and stuff like that, it's gonna sound really good. So when you can see, I've done the Katana patch at the Boss Tone Studio for Katana Bass. And as you can see in the top there, it's the Katana Bass 110 that I'm using. So I've gone on the patch B, Bank B channel 2, and it's called Blues P Bass. And as I said, you can download this in the description below if you'd like to try it for yourself. But in general, I ended up having the compression on 10%, and this is the Boss compression. So what I like with the compression is that you get a really round, nice tone, but still at the same time, you have the dynamic control in your fingers. You don't want the compression to be too harsh and take all of the dynamics away. I have the drive function ready to go on a blues overdrive there, which sounds very much nicer, I think, than the other drives in this context. So on the P blues, on the P bass blues sound, I want it to be like a grit that you can add on, especially if you want to go for a little bit of a harder section of the song. But if I go back to the amplifier, as I mentioned, the pad is on because my bass here has a high output gain. So if your bass doesn't have that, make sure to take that pad off. But I ended up using the vintage preset there, instead of using the modern or the flat amplifier, which I believe gives you a little bit less character. So the vintage character here really boosts the P bass sound. And I'm also going for the classic blues sound now, and I want a bass sound which has a nice oomph to it, and at the same time has the grit in the edges, so it will cut through the mix, but at the same time has a round, nice bass tone. So I'm going for the vintage sounding, and with the 40% gain and 60% volume. I'm trying to end that up to 100% every time, so 40-60. And then on the equalizer, you can see something really weird there. I'm going low mid at 0. And you know, as I sat down here trying to do this, the low mid didn't give me any good frequencies. And obviously you can adjust, if you go to the EQ section on the Boss Tone Studio, you can adjust the low mid frequency here. But I actually ended up just not doing anything and just going, taking the low mid down to 0%. Because those frequencies in the low mid didn't give me any character, and it actually gave me frequencies that I didn't want in the P bass. So I boosted the bass up to 55%, and I got the high mid at 55 and treble at 40, and that's just to get that grit at the edges, so that the P bass will cut through the mix. And when you're ready for a solo, I got the FX1 ready with a flanger, and I got the FX2 ready with the reverb, and put those two together with the drive, and you've got a pretty cool solo sound. So I'm gonna demonstrate this patch for you right now. I hope this helps you a little bit, Liam, with creating a blues P-bass sound. This is, yeah, it's a cool blues P-bass sound, and I will definitely use that for myself. I think the most important thing is to remember is that in the low mid section, you will get frequencies that you can't really control, and will have an effect in the amp that you don't want, because you don't have control of it. But you'd rather want like a flat kind of full control with your fingers dynamic sound. I hope you like it. I'm gonna play through. I think it's gonna be like an E minor blues-ish, and I'm gonna do the different microphone and the DI, and you're gonna hear with the FX, with the drive, with everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks again, Liam, for commenting this. right, bro. Liam, thank you so much for asking this question. I hope this helps. Please comment if you have any more questions. And if anyone else has anyone, please let me know and I'll try and help you out. Remember, the P-Bass might sound a bit daft by itself. It should be like a dead kind of oomphy sound with a grit on the edge. But then when you put it in the mix, it's gonna crack through the mix in such a good way that you're not gonna regret having a P-Bass sound in your amp ready to go. All right, thank you, take care, and subscribe and all that if you want more videos. Bye bye.